membership powers everything we do, and thank you to all of our members who support the UMAA Alumni Association. Things like this and webinars that have become so important to us are made possible by that membership. We do have some upcoming webinars. If you are watching us, there will be another one on September 29th, and this will be run by Rebecca Lubert, our Director of Career Communications, and this is Coffee and Career Connections on September 29th. October 1st, she will be doing one about Ask a Recruiter on LinkedIn, and then we will have a 3-part series coming up through between October and November with TCF and Freedom Financial. So watch for your emails on those coming up. If you have any questions or want to log in using your phone, there is the dial-in number and the webinar ID if you would prefer to use that for your audio. And want to also mention that the day of service is now become a week of service, starting September 19th through the 26th. Again, watch communications about a slight change that has just been published. Obviously, as things continue to change in our lives right now, we wanted to make this available to anyone who wanted to participate. And now I get to introduce Joe Peterson. He is the lead sales representative with Liberty Mutual, based right here, a U of M grad, yay. And we are thrilled to be official partners with Liberty Mutual and lots of great things that we have been able to do through that. So bear with me here. I'm gonna switch and bring up Joe's slide. And
I'm glad you got rid of that picture soon. Oof, that was an old one.
Well, this one they sent me, so sorry if that wasn't the one we should have had.
Nope, we'll get you updated, don't worry.
There you go. Okay, sorry. I don't know why I'm not getting screen presentation view. Just the little glitches. Hal, can you see it?
Are we stuck? I can see it, yep.
I don't know why it's not going into present mode. Sorry. Here we go. Okay.
There we go. Yeah, we can just keep cruising here.
Okay.
We're going to talk a little bit about your home and auto insurance and just making it a little bit less complicated. If nothing else, just educating you on what your policy actually is, what it does for both home and auto. A little bit of a high level, but we'll make sure that we cover the important parts. We're going to talk about renters, condo, and home, some trends that impact that as far as savings and actually some risks, both kind of showing up lately here. I'll do a quick intro to auto insurance and also the same thing, some savings and some risks that we're seeing with auto insurance as of recently too. Go ahead. What you see here are the 3 types of home policies. We have, we'll start from the right, tenants insurance, which is commonly referred to as renters. Covers your personal property, liability, small medical payments, and loss of use. We'll dig into more of these, or more on these in a little bit later here. The middle is condo insurance, also townhome insurance. You get the same as renters as far as coverage goes, but you also have the interior of the dwelling. The master policy normally takes care of all exterior things, and you take care of anything on the inside. And on the home, we have all of that, plus you add on the exterior, so you're covering the siding and the windows and the shingles on your home insurance, as well as any other structure that you may have, shed, gazebo, fence, things like that. Go ahead, Julie. We are seeing quite an uptick in renters lately. So I want to cover a little bit on the renters insurance here and just kind of make it simple. What your renters policy will cover are things like your clothes, your TVs, your electronics, any furniture, of course, jewelry up to a certain limit, damage from any of the accidents, and then temporary living expenses. And we keep hinting on the temporary living expenses, but we'll dive into that a little bit more in just a second here. Go ahead, Julie. So what does personal property cover? A guy I used to work with used to say, if you take the roof off of a house, take the home, shake it upside down, everything that falls out is personal property, and that's pretty true to a certain point. But really, what it's covering is it's all of your stuff, your things that you bring into the home. So your furniture, your clothes, your electronics, valuables up to a certain amount, and really, I mean, your personal property is what you bring into the home, your things. We do have something that I like for renters. It's called blanket jewelry coverage. And what that is if you have a few items of jewelry and you just don't want to itemize them out, meaning I want this covered for this much, this covered for this much, you know, grandma's ring for this much, you can take all of it and put it under the blanket. That way it's covering everything all with one policy instead of having to itemize each one out. They can be subject to deductible, and it does vary by state, but it's something that you want to pay attention to. The bottom one is actually very important. So something that most people might not know is there's two types of coverages, really. There's replacement cost coverage, and there's actual cash value. A good way to think about this is if you buy a TV, what was it say couch? You buy a couch for $1,000, and a few years down the road, it depreciates in value. So say 2 years down the road, it's worth $500. Replacement cost coverage is what Liberty has, will give you the new value, or the new couch at the value that needs to be to replace. Actual cash value will actually depreciate that and give you that amount of money. So if you're looking at your policies, make sure that you do have replacement cost or replacement value on your policies. Go ahead, Julie. Liability is exactly what it sounds like. If you're held liable for something, your liability coverage will take care of that for up to a certain limit. It helps pay for your medical bills. Somebody, you know, slips on the ice and hurts themselves, and comes after you. It'll help for accidental damage to anyone else's property. Also take care of legal costs if you're sued in the situation like I was talking about there. These happen a lot more frequently than we think, so definitely very smart to have a higher liability limit, especially since there's not usually a large premium difference by moving up. But contact your insurance agent to verify that. But yeah, that's what liability takes care of. Julie? So I was hinting towards this before, the additional living expenses. Basically what this coverage does is if you are displaced, so a fire happens, a tornado happens, we're seeing it a lot with the wildfires going on the West Coast, where people are actually told that they cannot go into their home, their residence, their neighborhood because of obviously the fires. It's just not safe. You've lost the use of your home. This part of the policy will pay for you to live elsewhere. And maintain your normal standard of living. So some policies have dollar limits or time limits, you know, up to 12 months or up to such and such amount. Other policies do not. I know depending on the policy you purchase with other companies, they can have one or both of those up to such and such time frame, or the amount, whatever comes first. I will say, since this is Liberty Mutual, Liberty with Minnesota and the HVP does take care of the actual loss. So there's not the time limit or dollar limit on there. Go ahead, Julie. Dwelling coverage for your house and your condo or townhome. So this part of the policy is your coverage A, your dwelling. It'll take care of the damage to home, any other structures like a fence or driveway. We're seeing this a lot recently with all the hail that has come through Minnesota. And this is what's taking care of that. There's also protection from fire, water, obviously weather with hail, theft and vandalism. The hail is a pretty obvious one, tornadoes, wind damage, things like that. There are some optional coverages like hurricane, depending on where you live. And the one I actually kind of want to key in on here is the water damage. So there is some extra coverage that you can purchase that is called backup of sewer, water, or drains. And really what that's meant for is kind of a gross thing, but if you were to flush the toilet and the water goes the wrong way and comes in instead of out, this is going to help pay for some of that, as well as we see it in the spring. If there's a big melt and your sump pump can't keep up pushing water out and the water comes into the basement and starts flooding the basement because of sump pump failure, this would cover things like that. It's not an automatic in every policy, so definitely either check your policy or contact your insurance agent to make sure that that's on there. Julie, go ahead. Some trends we're seeing with home insurance. So we're seeing a lot more smart devices, smart homes, things like Nest. There's a few other ones that control the security and will alert you in case of, well, like what I was just talking about, if a water backup happens, it can alert you so you can get on top of it right away. Those things are definitely helping out with some premium. It gives you a little discount as well as minimizes some of the losses that we see when you are alerted if something happens. Home sharing, short-term rental. We're seeing a lot more of this lately as well. With home sharing, and it's going to be different with each company, but with short-term rental and home sharing, you do have coverage, but there are limits. And we're seeing some people not consult their agents and not have the coverage that they need prior to getting into the short-term rental and things like that. So please contact your agent to make sure that you're covered in a situation like that. New construction and home improvements. Anytime you do something new to your home, you want to contact your agent because, especially with new construction, because you get discounts and you want to maximize every discount that you got. With new construction, the risk is a lot lower for insurance companies, so the premiums tend to be very good as well. Obviously, we're seeing a lot more natural disasters, and this is everything. I mean, the one that's not on there is hail, but I mean, just in Minnesota, we had almost 5 hailstorms that came through in a 2-week span. We're seeing the wildfires, earthquakes, floods, hurricanes. We're seeing a lot of different things that impact home insurance. So what I tell my customers is just make sure that when we run through things or we go through things, we're covered for everything that could happen so that you don't have to worry or wonder if something like this happens to you. We're actually even seeing wildfires in northern Minnesota. It's just so dry out there. So if you have any questions, concerns, or anything like that, of course, I would love to look at it, but contact your agent to make sure that that you're covered for everything you need to be covered for, especially with the recent natural disasters that just seem to never end here this year. Go ahead, Julie. And we will switch over to auto insurance. With auto insurance, you have some standard coverages and some add-ons. This one specifically, we're going to talk about Liberty Mutual. It is, with the standard, you have your medical payments. I mean, a real life example there, you're hurting in a car accident and need to be taken by ambulance to the hospital. We'll take care of that. Bodily injury is if you're at fault and in a collision where someone hurts their wrist, it says here, this can help cover medical expenses. It can go a little bit higher than that, but that's a good example. Property damage is exactly what it sounds like. You've damaged somebody else's property and it's your fault in the accident. That would take care of that. Some add-ons with Liberty Mutual, we have new car replacement. So if you were to get into an accident, you know, when you drive off the lot, you get into an accident, instead of the depreciation, we'll get you a brand new car with no depreciation on there. We have accident forgiveness after 5 years of not having an accident. And for Liberty, it doesn't have to be just 5 years with us with no accident, but 5 years of driving with no accident. And you hit someone's bumper, some type of at-fault accident, we will give you I guess a freebie. We'll give you that forgiveness. So we don't surcharge for that accident at all if you have the accident forgiveness with us. Deductible fund. So we have a deductible fund where it builds over time, and say, you know, a few years down the road, you do get into an accident, that deductible fund will kick in and minimize your deductible or wipe it out depending on where you are with that. And you might have zero to very low out-of-pocket money going towards that accident. I do like the deductible fund because it's just nice to see that you pay $100 and your car is fixed instead of the $5 or $1,000, whatever your deductible is. Go ahead, Julie. So some things your auto policy covers. So injury to you or anyone else, damage to someone else's car. Of course, that would be if it's at fault, and damage to property. The thing with Liberty Mutual, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the commercials over and over, but we do customize policies depending on the person we're speaking to. There are some things that you may not need, or there's other things that you didn't know you need that you might want to take care of. So we do customize it so that you only pay for what you actually need, and it is different from customer to customer. So Julie, go ahead. So the auto liability coverage for other people, really what the auto liability covers is if you are in an at-fault accident and you hurt somebody, including medical expenses, of course, legal fees, the lost income, pain and suffering, bereavement costs for the passenger, things like that. And there's a twist in that we'll cover in just a minute here about personal injury protection. But this is for others. So it's covering other people's items in that list, as well as property. You've commonly heard your insurance policy, maybe you have or haven't, they say your coverage is 100, 300, 100. That first 100 is what it will pay per person in an accident. That second number, that 300, is actually what it pays total per accident for things like this. And then that last number is actually what it will pay for property damage. So Minnesota State goes all the way down to 30,000, 60,000, 10,000, which, you know, I'll never say it does a lot of good, but, you know, people have to do what they have to do. But the higher those limits, the better coverage you have, the more things that will be taken care of by the insurance company instead of coming out of pocket, so including others' property. And for medical payments, of course, that's standard. Others' property is standard, and bodily injury liability is standard in every policy in Minnesota. Go ahead, Julie. So personal injury protection, this is for you. In Minnesota, every policy has this, and it is going to take care of medical expenses for you. I'll read it here. So it pays for the initial medical expenses related to the accident, regardless who is at fault. Passengers in your car are also covered. So we've all heard that Minnesota is a no-fault state. This coverage is what they're talking about. Regardless of who is at fault, you have coverage for medical expenses and you have coverage for lost wages. So you have medical expense, legal fees, pain and suffering, again, bereavement. Not sure that's in there, but it comes standard at $20,000 for medical, $20,000 for work loss. So you want to make sure if you have multiple cars, there's the ability to do what's called stacking, where you can multiply it by how many cars you have. It doesn't cost all that much, and it just multiplies the coverage that you would have for your personal injury protection. I don't know if anyone in here is from Michigan or has insurance in Michigan, but there was a very big change in personal injury protection in Michigan. So if you don't know about that, absolutely 100% call your insurance agent. It's a very big deal. So make sure that you're aware of what the personal injury protection change is. The other thing with this is we're going to kind of skip around a little bit, but there's uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. I was talking before about make sure that your limits are high to take care of things for liability, but your policy also covers you if the person that you are in an accident with doesn't have insurance or doesn't have enough to take care of you if it's their fault. So you want to make sure that your limits are higher so that if need be, your own policy can take care of you, even if it is someone else's fault. And let's see here. I already did talk about that. Sorry, I kind of jumped around a little bit on the page. Sorry, everybody. Julie, go ahead. Collision is exactly what it sounds. It will pay for damage of your vehicle when it collides with another vehicle or object. Yeah, it really is what it sounds like. It's basically coverage for your vehicle if you hit somebody and it's your fault. Now, generally speaking, if somebody else hits you and they own up to it and it's known that they hit you and everybody agrees, their policy will take care of you. But you want to make sure that if you are an at-fault accident, that your vehicle is covered. Absolutely have collision. This is part of the policy that most loan companies will require. If you have a loan on your policy, they will ask for this and comprehensive. But generally, I really like the collision and comprehensive for vehicles for quite a while. For me personally, I just don't want to have to pay for a new vehicle out of pocket. There will obviously become a time when it doesn't make sense to have this, but if you have a newer, more expensive car, it makes a lot of sense. And some older cars, if they're holding their value, it's definitely a smart thing to keep collision on there. And really all it's for is so that you don't have to pay out of pocket. You have your deductible, that's it, and then insurance company will take care of the rest. Let's see here. And again, this is part of the Liberty Mutual Deductible Fund. If you have that, you might have absolutely no repairs out of pocket. So, Julie, go ahead. Comprehensive is the other side of it. Collision covers exactly what it sounds like. Comprehensive, some people don't know. So this is things like theft, vandalism, weather, like hail, wind, fire, and actually this includes impact with an animal. In Minnesota, it's deer all the time. Comprehensive takes care of that. So anybody can have comprehensive coverage on there. And again, this is the other side of the coverage that your lease or finance company would want you to have if you have a loan. They want to protect their investment too, so I can definitely understand that. And the benefits is if you have comprehensive coverage and something like this happens, you pay your deductible and we take care of the rest. And of course, if it's a serious enough accident, collision side, you know, you'd get compensation if it's a collision on here. If it's a nasty enough hailstorm or you hit an animal, and those can get pretty bad, and your car's totaled, you will pay your deductible and we will take care of the rest. Thank you. Julie, go ahead. So some enhancements. For Liberty Mutual, you get new car replacement. I know at one point, and I don't know what that is now, but if you have a brand new, like for instance, this year, a 2020, Chevy truck, you automatically have new car replacement. The other part of that is if you have an older car, you can get better car replacement for your vehicle. The new car replacement is nice because we will get you a new car, no depreciation in your first year. The better car is for older vehicles where we will give you more money in the case of a total loss, we will give you more money for your vehicle. One model year newer with 15,000 miles, well, I'll say in Minnesota, one model year newer with 15,000 miles less. So really all that's doing is allowing us to give you more money for the same vehicle in a total loss situation, so that if you did owe money or maybe you were underneath it, it helps you out, pay the loan off, and maybe have some money for another car. Rental car reimbursement, what that coverage is for is if you're in what's that?
Sorry.
I can't. Am I froze here? Hello? Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. So rental car reimbursement, if your vehicle's in an accident and, oh, I just lost my feed here. Well, I'll still talk anyway if anyone can hear me. Rental car reimbursement is for if your vehicle's in an accident and you need access to another vehicle. It will pay depending on the vehicle, it will pay, depending on the coverage you have, it'll pay up to $30 a day, up to 30 days, and you have separate limits for each one of those. Let me see here. It looks like we actually lost Julie, which means we lost the the slides as well. I have the slides. I don't know if I can present them or not. The good news is we were close to the end, so that's good. Let's see. I can share my screen.
Hi, Joe. You can go ahead and share your screen.
I can.
You should
Okay.
be able to do that.
I mean, pretty much it was that, one more, and then questions. So
No worries.
Let me see. Share screen.
Thanks everyone for being patient with us.
Sorry, everybody. Yeah. And I don't know how well it came through, but so rental car reimbursement, you're in an accident, you need access to a car. Rental car reimbursement will pay for you to have access to another car, a rental car. And normally it's a 30-day window. And if you need more time because it's a bad accident or something like that, you just talk to your claims people and they'll usually help you out. The other one is roadside assistance. And while let's see, all panelists. It's actually not letting me share anything. I'll try again. Well, it's not letting me share, Brittany. So I'll just talk. I love to do that. So roadside assistance is, again, what it sounds like. It'll if you're stuck on the side of the road, it will take care of you as far as bringing, some gas out to you, help you get into your car if you've locked out, if your battery's dead, a flat tire, or if you need to get towed somewhere. That's what this part of the policy covers. These optional enhancements are actually extremely affordable for insurance. So I mean, add-ons. If you add these on, generally speaking, they're very low cost. So let's see. Brittany, are you sharing something?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, I can't see it. So there it is. So there you go. Now you can see it. Rental car reimbursement, roadside. Yeah, that pretty much covered everything I was just saying. So you can go ahead and go to the next one. And here's some trends we're seeing on auto insurance. Autonomous vehicles. You're driving on the road and the vehicle moves itself over or stops for you or actually completely drives for you. We are seeing a lot more of those than we ever have before. And with that is coming a lot better safety, a lot better safety. Vehicles today are so much safer than they were before. They're made to take the impact and reduce the damage that happens to the person driving, which is pretty fantastic. And we are seeing a lot more telematics-based discounts. Liberty Mutual has their few versions. We have Right Track that will help with increasing the discount over time, depending on how you drive. So people say, I'm a better driver. How come I don't get a better discount? That's what this is for. The other one we're seeing, especially in today's climate, with a lot of people being at home, as you can see, I'm one of those. And what we're seeing is just not a lot of driving. So we do have a by mile deal where we would keep that in your car as well. And it just proves that you're not driving, and you can get discounts doing that as well. So if you're not out there with the risk of driving with other people and things like that, it would definitely help your discount out quite a bit. One thing that we're seeing that is really helping is we have this digital claims process, and that's kind of the picture that you see there, is you can take a 360 photo of your vehicle and start your claim that way, and claims are getting paid pretty quick. I've heard people say it's a pretty slick deal. Now, if it's a more serious issue where the damage is beyond the metal on the outside or something like that, of course, take it in, get it checked out by a professional, make sure that there's no damage to the frame and things like that. But yeah, I've heard a lot of fantastic things about the online claims system, even with homes. It's pretty remarkable system how they have that set up. And the pay for usage is kind of what I was just talking about. If you have, if you're just not driving, and most of us aren't, I think I've had the same tank of gas in my truck for about a month, it seems. But you know, if that's the case, then you want to make sure your insurance is reflecting that as well. Go ahead for the next slide, Brittany. So yeah, so that's it with the kind of the high level insurance 101 for auto and home. Do we have any questions? There we go. I'm gonna try to see.
I have one, Joe.
Yep.
So what is the difference between renter's insurance and the insurance my landlord has? And why are they both necessary?
Yeah, so if you're the person that's renting, and this is a good topic because like I said, we are seeing a lot more renters than we have before, but if you're the person that is renting, you want to cover your stuff in the place that you're renting. Your personal property that you bring into the home, your furniture, things like that. And the landlord, the policy that they're going to have is going to cover them and their property, the home, the condo, the townhome, whatever it is that they're renting out to you, and not your stuff. So if you want to make sure that your items are protected, that's what you would get the renter's policy for.
Great, thank you. I have another one. Given the circumstances of what have happened around the nation, is my auto insurance cover damages to my vehicle during a protest?
So if it's the civil unrest, if it's bad enough, yeah, it can spill out into personal property. They can go into the neighborhoods and absolutely, you know, vandalize your property and your vehicle. If you remember when we were talking about, your auto insurance does cover under comprehensive the vandalism, theft, things like that. So you would be taken care of there as well.
So that wouldn't be a separate policy or anything extra you'd have to add in?
Nope, not for the civil unrest, no.
Okay, excellent. I do have one other. Does my homeowner's insurance provide coverage for my child's belongings while they are living away at college? Computer, clothes, etc.
That's a good question. So when they're living at a completely different address and they have their items with them, if it's their property, it wouldn't be covered under your homeowners. If they bring your property, it's covered up to a certain amount. So what I would say, and that's, I'm talking Liberty Mutual here. Obviously consult your agent, make sure that it's one or the other, but from what I've seen, if they're bringing their property to their, you know, residence and they're renting out or something like that, absolutely have a renter's policy for them, so that if you can guarantee that their things are covered where they live, that there's no gray area, there's nothing that might be covered, might not be covered. If they have a renter's policy, it's going to be taken care of. Their personal property is taken care of. And renter's policies are generally pretty inexpensive. So it's a smart thing to have, and it doesn't cost much to make sure you're protected.
If nothing more than their laptop at minimum, right?
Right, yeah.
Everything but nothing more than their laptop, sure.
Yeah, and their TV.
Yeah, there you go. How about that? There are two screens.
And a futon, maybe.
Yeah, and their phone. Okay, anything else? Let's see. I've got one more.
Okay.
Why do we need to pay personal injury protection coverage in my auto insurance if I have health insurance?
So the personal injury protection is going to take care of medical, that's true, up to $20,000. But it's also going to take care of up to $20,000 of work loss income replacement. And in Minnesota, you absolutely have to have it. It's state law. So if you have auto insurance, part of that auto insurance is going to be personal injury protection, and inside of that is those two portions. Every time that if someone's in an accident, the first thing that they ask is, you know, who was driving, where were you, things like that. Who's your insurance company, who's your auto insurance, and then who's your medical insurance. And it's the first line of defense in every auto accident. So You have to have it. It's the state law, at least Minnesota. I can talk Minnesota. If somebody's in a different state, throw it in the chat box, and I can. If I'm licensed in that state, I'll reply if it's any different. But
Okay. Do we have any other questions? You can throw them in the chat box. Just
Brittany, you want to go to the next screen? There you go. We are moving actually pretty quick, but if you have any questions and you didn't want to ask them for anybody, or you just want to talk to me directly, here's my contact information. The 595-3041, that is a direct line to me, and of course my email there as well. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. I will say if it's really specific, if I'm not insuring you, I would usually tell you to contact your agent. But if you just have some general questions, or you want me to take a look at what you have and see what I can do, there's my contact info. I'd love to help.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I got.
All right, well, thank you, Joe, so much, and Brittany for stepping in. You know, we never know what technology might do to us, and lost my signal there for a little bit. So thank you so much to Brittany for stepping in and helping me with that. Again, this today was made possible by a partnership with Liberty Mutual. Thank you so much with Joe today, and the UMAA members and the Alumni Association. We want to thank you for joining us today. We will be sending this out as a recording, and there'll be a survey, but you can also rewatch and see any of Joe's slides again, or if you have any other questions. Again, as Joe said, he's more than happy to help you with anything or see if we can make sure you've got coverage that you need. Mm-hmm. Unless anybody has anything else, I think that's it. And I think we will say goodbye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and listen. I know insurance isn't the craziest, most fun thing to listen to, but it's important. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out.
Go Gophers.
That's right.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.